Hey everybody, I'm Sierra.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome back to another episode of The Unsolved Couple, where every week Ben and I recap one of the original gateway drugs into true crime.
Unsolved mysteries.
Thanks for that dramatic reading as always,
It'll
Ben.
always be dramatic.
So we're back.
We made it. We made it back to Arizona.
We did. We made it back to Arizona. We are back in our regular recording location. Studio is a fancy word.
It's not a studio.
No, it's not a studio. And we are glad to be home. We are missing the cooler weather up in the Pacific Northwest, but it's good to be sleeping back in our own beds.
Oh, yeah.
Why are parents' beds and houses never equipped with comfortable mattresses?
I don't know. My parents have the worst mattresses in the world in their house.
Ben and I are only 39 years old, but I swear whenever we travel to visit either his parents or my parents, we leave with hip and back pain.
Yes.
They're significantly older than us. And I
don't understand.
I asked my mom, I was like, what is with your bed? It's like sleeping on a stone slab. And she's like, oh, they love it.
I don't know.
Also, my parents highly believe in never getting anything bigger than a queen-size mattress in their house.
Maybe it's because they grew up tougher than us and we're soft, you know? We need nicer, more comfortable
I need to
things.
sleep on a cloud, not on a rock.
We're a soft generation, maybe.
Yeah. So, but no, we're back. We're back in our own space. We're back with the 100+ degree weather, the daily monsoons, the thunder, the lightning, the rain. We are back to homeschooling. And if you hear any weird noises out, there is a frog in our pool, I'm going to guess.
That's okay. I was like, what is it?
It sounds like the combination of a goat and a toddler drowning.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way they're going to hear it on this because I'm barely hearing it and it's in the backyard.
It's annoying.
But I kept hearing it. Oh,
I guarantee here within the next few seconds, we're going to pause this and go fish that out of our pool. Yeah, we're not going to. Right. BRB. Okay, we're back.
All right, we did it.
Frog crisis averted.
Rescued.
Yeah, he's been rescued.
Yeah, we took care of him.
We took care of him.
Not that being in a pool was bad for him, but not good for us.
Well, not good for our dog. So the frogs or toads that live down here in Arizona, typically in our area, are actually poisonous to dogs. And we have a dog that is obsessed with little creatures in the backyard, and he would put his nose right up on that thing, and we wouldn't be recording because now we'd be dealing with a poisoned dog. So,
yeah. Crisis averted.
Yep. And so, anyways, we're back. So, back to our daily schedule, back to our grind, back to kind of post-summer life now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it. We made it. We made it through.
Summer 24, check.
I know, but even though, we're not even going to be posting these until, later.
Yeah, this won't be,
Till, November or October.
Yeah.
People will be like, dude, I don't know what.
The power time change of podcasting, right? Okay, so what did you think of this episode?
It was interesting. Mm-hmm. It was we are season 1, episode 7.
Yep.
All right. I think it's funny, none of these, they don't have names, it's just episode 7.
Yeah, I don't know if that changes down the road later.
Well, yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, no. So, season 1, episode 7, it was, it was good, I guess. I mean, is that what you call something like this? Good, I guess? Is that the word you use?
I loved this episode, but so far, I've only, kind of not been a big fan of one episode. So
you were a big fan of it. This is your first big fan episode.
Well, I've been a big fan of several, but I think this hit a lot of the,
true crime things.
True crime stuff. We got a little bit of paranormal stuff and a lighthearted, fun one.
Yeah.
And then we're
back to Son of Sam again.
Yeah, which we're not going to recap because if you want to know about the Son of Sam episode covered in Unsolved Mysteries, you can go back and listen to the last episode. because I did both part 1 and part 2.
Yeah. And I mean, I watched it, obviously. I watched The Son of Sam, and then I was like, oh, Sierra covered all of this.
Yeah. But again, you didn't know a ton about Son of Sam.
I know nothing about Son of Sam.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
For the world of true crime, there was a documentary released in the time of us recording on Netflix, The Scott Peterson.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a documentary about the Lacey Peterson and Scott Peterson. Lacey Peterson, her husband Scott, has been convicted to date of the murder of her and their unborn child.
Yes.
I was in the bedroom.
I guess.
I was in the bedroom watching this the other day, and Ben came in and was like, "What are you watching?" And I was like, "Oh." And I think we might have even mentioned it a few episodes ago where I said something about Scott Peterson. Oh, that's right, because one of the podcast women that I look up to thinks that he's innocent. The last one. Yeah, and I disagree with her, but respect her viewpoint on it, and I can kind of see it. I think I was telling you a little bit about some of the reasons why there are people out there that believe that he might be innocent. Anyways, so this happened. You and I would have still been living at home with our parents at the time. It was, Christmas,
early 2000s.
And it was Christmas Day. And I'm watching this, and I keep trying to tell Ben that he does know about this case, that there is no way, shape, or form that he slept through this. And I keep waiting for like a fact to come up on the documentary, or maybe a picture where he's like, oh, that, yeah. I kind of remember that now. Zilch.
No, I just don't think people understand. Like, this is not my world.
And I think for people in this world, it blows our minds that other people are so not aware of these cases or these stories that shaped a lot of us. Like, this is another one of those gateway drugs into true crime. The story of Scott and Lacey Peterson.
See, okay. And I explained to Sierra today, like, I can think of like 4 cases in my entire life that I've actually cared about. That I wouldn't even actually cared about, that I heard and I paid attention.
That somehow had notable interest in your life. And only one of them that you told me about today actually even happened in your childhood.
Yes.
The rest of them have ever been...
JonBenet Ramsey.
Yeah.
Because that happened Christmas morning.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. I still don't care about it. I've read 0 about it.
Yeah.
I've watched 0 about it. I'm not trying to like be callous. I'm just saying, like, this stuff doesn't interest me.
The only reason you knew about that...
I knew about it is because my mom had the TV on Christmas morning, and it was consuming the news that morning.
Yeah.
And I was a kid, and I literally, I mean, I remember that Christmas because I got like the coolest Lego set. It was a medieval castle. It was like the biggest Lego set I'd ever owned.
Yeah.
And I sat in the living room and built that all day. And I was more focused on my Lego set.
Yeah, there was
JonBenet Ramsey was on television.
JonBenet Ramsey story was in the background. And at that time, she was only missing.
Yeah, and she was a kid. I didn't know who she was beforehand, and I don't know the case. I mean, obviously, I know bits and pieces of the case because, it's come here and there, but...
yeah, we mentioned the attaché in the D.B. Cooper story that we covered a few episodes ago, but
I've never listened to anything. I've never read anything. And then the other story was the guy that killed his wife and kid and shoved him in like an oil barrel. Mm-hmm. I only know the details because like that one.
And you refused to watch that documentary with me.
Yeah, I will not watch it because the details of it just makes me sick.
Yeah,
and it's just too sad. Like it breaks my heart. So I'll be honest. I know like the gist of it, but I don't even know like the real story.
And again, that was probably only more noticeable because of the same thing. He was on television pleading for the safe return of his wife and 2 children, and did all this media stuff, and then very quickly turns out he. And so
then I would say the only other true crime I've ever read a little bit about was I read a little bit about the crazy lady in Idaho that killed her kids, but then I got pretty uninterested real quick. But then I was pretty interested in that quadruple homicide in Idaho. Also,
The Idaho murders, of the college students.
Of the college students. I actually dove into that one. I read about it. I read the entire affidavit for the arrest warrant and that the detective.
And I think one of the reasons you were so into that, and because we had conversations about that, is because the Idaho college campus police and the state crime and all the people kept coming out and saying that other people were not in danger. The city should not be worried. And you and I were like, how do 3 girls? Was it
4 people?
4 people,
3 girls and a dude.
Three girls and a boy get murdered in their home, and there's not a danger to anybody else. Like, those 2 things didn't make sense to us. So you and I had some conversations about it. Now we kind of know why they were onto this guy pretty quickly.
Well, and he'd been targeting them for a while.
Yeah.
He'd been following them and stuff like that. So it was and that was the thing that bothered me, is that they were like, this is a targeted attack. I'm like, how do you know that? And all 4 of these people, yeah, they might. Anyways, we're not going to talk about that case. But the whole point I'm saying is, like, in my 39 years, that's all. Like, that's the extent of my knowledge of true crime.
And most of the true crime, I think, that I follow now were obviously solved cases. I really enjoy cold cases and different things like that. So I do enjoy watching these old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, because a lot of these, due to technology advances in the world of true crime, or I guess it's not true crime because the people that are solving it, this is their job. In the world of solving crime has come so far that a lot of these cases have been solved. And I even find it fascinating. If there is a case out there that got profiled on Unsolved Mysteries that hasn't been solved, that's intriguing to me, because we have come so far in the different techniques that are available to law enforcement. So I enjoyed this episode because these were actually the cases that we're going to cover today. There's a paranormal case, and then there are 2 stories that at the time were unsolved that I had never heard of before.
Yeah. Me neither. Well, I haven't heard of them before either. That might be a surprise.
That might come as a shock to you.
Yeah.
So how do you want, so we're actually going to save our paranormal story
so
for the
they started
end.
with the paranormal, but it's fun. It's a little lighthearted, so we'll save that one for the last one.
The other 2 stories aren't insanely heavy, but
they're interesting.
But I just think that the paranormal case that they did was originally part of their same Halloween episode that the other paranormal story we covered
really?
on. This was on there too. And it's just kind of fun. Even the host, Robert, like, has a grin on his face while he's telling the story. So it's kind of fun and lighthearted. So I thought it would be a good idea for us to end. So then we have 2 other cases. So Ben and I are each going to take one, and then we'll kind of break down the paranormal case and talk about it. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay. So I will go ahead and tell you guys the case of Gretchen Burford. Buford.
Or Burford. Yeah, Burford.
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 Yeah, Burford. Burford?
Burford. I mean, it is like...
Ford, yeah.
It is like the vehicle.
Gretchen Burford. Okay. So after raising 3 children, this 49-year-old woman named Gretchen decides to enroll in law school. Huge props, just right off the bat. That was intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Because law school is no joke. And let alone at 49 years old deciding, hey, I've raised my kids, I'm going to go back to school.
Because that was when the case happens, when she's 49.
When she's 49. Okay,
so
yeah.
In her early 40s.
Oh, at the age of 41. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean, still, she's 41 and goes
41
to
years
law
old. That's only that's 2 years older than us now, and I cannot imagine having the energy to go back to law school.
Yeah, I will say, so I maybe I've told you this story. We're sidetracked. We can edit this out if we want. Okay. But I was at work. Mm-hmm. I'm out and about, come across this guy. He's out hunting with his son and his grandson. And I'm talking to him. And I'm like, what do you do? thinking he's retired. He's like, oh, I'm a lawyer. I was like, oh, wow. Like,
Yeah.
you're a lawyer? I'm like, that's cool. He's like, yeah, I did this. He did something else for like 20 something years, retired from it. And at 50, he went back to he went back to school and became a lawyer. He's like, I was bored. Like 50, 60 years old, somewhere in that range. This guy decided, I'm going to go back to school and become a lawyer because I'm bored. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to. And he's like, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm like, dude, that's
it's
awesome.
Impressive.
It is impressive because I think there is this stigma of people like once you get to a certain age, like you're there, like whatever path you're in, that's it. And so when I see people, like especially this lady, and especially in the 80s, I mean, just to decide, nope, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I bet she's like 20 plus years older than everybody else in all of her law classes. But she's like,
it goes on to tell us that she not only became an attorney, but by 1984, she had a full-time practice that she owned. So she owned her own practice by that point.
Well, and not just an attorney, like not just like some divorce attorney. Like she became a criminal law.
Yeah, so she
attorney.
she specialized in criminal defense in juvenile law. And we get a handful of talking heads, including one of her colleagues and her wife, talking about
not her wife, but her colleague, her friend.
Colleagues and her daughter, not wife.
Yeah.
That'd have been really progressive for the 80s.
I don't think you could have had a wife technically back then.
No, you couldn't have. So her daughter and her colleagues talk about that she was really passionate about making sure, especially juvenile defendants who didn't have the money for criminal, law representation, that they had that available. They didn't go into a lot of detail, but they did talk about that on top of helping inside the law practice, she also seemed to take a big interest in a lot of these kids' lives and helped them emotionally, potentially financially, even outside of what her bounds of being an attorney would have covered. So it sounds like she was doing good things in the world.
Yeah.
She was making a positive impact on the world around her. So this is in Palo Alto, California. So February 26, 1988, Gretchen, it's a regular Friday night. She's packing up her office. She's heading out for the evening. It's Friday, going home for the weekend. Authorities, they make a point to let you know, are unclear of her movements exactly.
They do have some
They've got a bank record and a couple of eyewitnesses later on, so they try to kind of fill in the blanks as they're telling the story in Unsolved Mysteries. Around 6:37 p.m., she heads to an ATM, a walk-up ATM. So she's parked her car in a parking lot, walks up to an ATM, and deposits a check for $449, about 4 blocks away from her office.
How much was that?
I did not adjust it for inflation.
Come on. I thought for sure you'd done that.
I thought about doing it, but then I got wrapped up into the story. Okay, I can pull it up right now. I'm just gonna, I need to just put the inflation calculator as a favorites on here because we use it
so $449. I'm gonna say it's almost it's always been pretty close to not double, almost quadruple what it is. So I'm going to say
it depends on the year. So this was
1988.
1988.
I'm going to say $1,150. That's what I'm going to say.
Close. $1,193.
1,109. I was off by $43. $43 I was off. That's pretty darn good.
You're starting to figure out the math of inflation calculate how that
I told you
works.
it's usually almost times it by 3.
Okay, you can say that to me as much as you want to. I'm never going to do that.
I'm just saying.
Because I'll never, and I won't remember.
It's close. I mean, not quite, but close.
Yeah. Okay, so she deposits that. It's about 4 blocks away from her work. And then at this point, the biggest fear that any young girl who has ever gotten into her car has.
Are you? Wait, do you know what
Ben, still to this day, I check the back seats of my car and I lock my car.
Do you know what I was thinking about when they're telling this?
What?
That is it? What's that movie?
Urban Legends?
Yes, Urban Legend. The dude in the back and the person's back there flashing and honking. Yes, that's what I was thinking about.
And I swear, I think everyone's like, oh, there's never anyone in the back seat of your car. It's an urban legend. No. That's what they think happened in this.
Well, that's their assumption.
That's their assumption. But I felt like a deep-seated fear and almost an inability to breathe when she got into her car, and I saw where this was going. Okay, so authorities believed that while she was in the walk-up ATM, that a gentleman got into the back seat of her car and hid and wait for her to come back. She obviously didn't lock her car. They do a little kind of conversation about that she was pretty bad, apparently, about safety, taking safety precautions. That. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's the 80s. I don't think it was a very big town at the time.
Her law partner's like, she was really naive. I'm like...
Yeah, let's not victim blame here that that a woman.
Well, he was. I don't want to say like I don't want to. He wasn't saying. He was just saying he was like. She sometimes is not paying attention to her surroundings. So like this, you know.
It's Friday. She's ready to get home. She had one more stop to make. She probably had a nice Merlot at home or something that she was ready to get after.
I don't know.
So she gets back into her car. At that point, she is accosted. And they believe that they threatened her. Oh, they do. She was threatened with a knife. He had a weapon on him. It's unknown exactly what happened because about 20 minutes goes by.
They said they don't. They like have no clue what happens for 20 minutes.
Yeah, because 20 minutes. Because later at 7:02, she attempts to make a withdrawal from an ATM, a drive-up ATM.
Yeah, and this is. They say 3 miles away.
It's only, so there was a 20-minute gap where it took them 20 minutes to get this 3 miles. They believe it.
Well, I will say.
They believe that she was trying to because she worked with criminals.
Yeah.
She was a criminal defense. So she didn't work with victims. She worked with the person being accused.
Yeah.
So they believe that she would have tried to calm him down, have a conversation with him, maybe kind of go over those things, and even maybe talk to him like, hey, you're going to get yourself into trouble because I understand how the law works, and you're looking at a lot of time from committing this crime. Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, you're driving through California. It could take 20 minutes to go through lights, and on a Friday night at 6:30 to go 3 miles, like, when you're in the middle of a city, going 3 miles can take a long time.
That is true.
I mean, there's a lot. I have no idea. But yeah, they say from the time after she deposited the check
until the next attempt at ATM, they
have no clue what happened.
So at that point, Gretchen attempted to withdraw money from an ATM. The transaction was aborted when she tried to withdraw more than she was allowed. Authorities believe that she may have done this intentionally to try to discourage the assaultant from continuing on. At this point, another vehicle pulls up behind him and 2 witnesses are in the car and they see a struggle take place.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
They said they saw
she tries to get open the door. I'm assuming she sees, and she sees someone, I'm guessing, pull up behind her and sees, here's my opportunity. There are 2 gentlemen, or there's a vehicle.
Yeah. Help. 8
feet away from me.
Yeah.
If I can get out of this car and get to them. Unfortunately, he rips her back into the car.
Yeah. Because the witnesses say they see that.
Yeah. At that point, she slams on the gas and causes a car accident. She drives straight out of that.
Yeah, in the reenactment, she just goes across the street and hits a parked car. Yeah, and
hits another car. And at that point, she hits a parked car. She gets out of the vehicle. She yells, "He stabbed me," and falls to the ground. So the 2 young men who had seen this whole thing, they've gotten out of their car and ran across the street.
Yeah. Well, they weren't clear if it was those people or if it was 2 other people.
2 young men that had just seen her as they had watched them flee the scene.
Okay.
But there was also, I think, someone
There was someone on the street.
There was someone on the street, and then there were the two men. So there's now a group of people witnessing what is happening.
It's 7:00 in the evening in California on a Friday night. It's not like it's dead.
Yeah.
There's got to be a lot of people out.
So unfortunately, he had stabbed her only once in the chest.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah. And it was fatal. She actually only got out of the car, and they said that she made it 150 yards from the ATM where she lied dead.
Yeah.
That's it. So in that short time frame, she had one stab wound, and it was fatal.
Well, and I was thinking about, it was crazy because how many people do you hear like they're stabbed 20 times and they live, you know? I mean, obviously, like it depends
it's very
on
violent.
the stab wound.
Stabbing obviously is a way to murder somebody and cause harm and injury.
No, I'm just saying, like,
but he had to have stabbed her in the exact perfect spot for her to die that quickly from a stab wound. So because one of the witnesses actually comes over and holds her hand, and he's interviewed that he held her hand while she died. And she said to him, "I'm dying." And he's like, "No," because he said she wasn't bleeding a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and he said I saw there was a little bit of blood. And I mean,
and he just tried to tell her to stay with him. And he said she just like looked at him and closed her eyes and passed away. Which that's just heartbreaking. This poor woman, in a matter of 30 minutes, went from leaving her work to laying dead in a parking lot.
Yeah.
A few miles from where she had left work that day. So the upside is that there was a few witnesses, and they actually interview the detective who was the first one on the scene. And he talks about the big thing that when he arrived on the scene, he noticed that there was a paisley hat in the back of the car. He said it didn't seem like it matched all of the other things.
Dude, that was the ugliest hat I've ever seen in my life.
I actually thought it was cool.
That was so ugly. I was like, who buys this hat?
I thought it was cool.
It's terrible. It was awful.
I was like, I would wear that hat.
No. I would not be caught dead in that hat.
That hat is so cool.
It was so awful.
Okay, but there is according to Ben, not so cool hat. According to Sierra, a very cool hat in the back.
It was a terrible hat.
Gretchen's car. They believed that this belonged to the killer. They also had some eyewitness descriptions of the man, and they also actually ended up finding the murder weapon. The murder weapon was located in a driveway, just like a little ways from the scene.
Yeah, they said they found it 1 block from the scene, but they found it the next day.
Yeah, the next day. And so the big thing
but they did say, was
the hat. They were able to track down the manufacturer and find that in that area, it was actually only sold at 2 locations.
Yeah,
so it wasn't widely distributed.
That's pretty good police work.
So, but then at that point, it goes cold.
Yeah. I mean, because again, it's the 80s. It's not like they have video of all the transactions and all that stuff. So on Unsolved Mysteries, they're asking for help. And actually, so we have an update. The case has been solved. It was not solved because of Unsolved Mysteries. No, it wasn't.
It actually wasn't solved until 2005.
Yeah.
So in 2005, DNA evidence found in the paisley hat linked the murder to a man named Tyrone Hamel. Hamel.
Yep.
He was actually already serving a life sentence in Texas at the time.
Yeah.
For robbery and rape.
I was going to say, you know what he was serving for? Mm-hmm. And I was
it gets better. So investigators learned that he had been in Palo Alto at the time for a friend's funeral. So funeral and robbery, apparently. Along with Gretchen, he also robbed and raped several women at knife point.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't just a one-time rape that this guy, he was out causing terror.
Yeah. Which, I mean, he ended up obviously killing Gretchen, but it makes you wonder what else he had planned for that evening.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's terrible. He was arrested for those crimes sometime later in 1988. So he actually didn't stay on the streets much longer before he got caught.
That's shocking. A criminal continues to commit crimes.
So in 2007, the scene was also linked to him again when they identified a fingerprint. So they've got this guy in for good. So in January of 2008, he confessed to the murder and pled guilty. But since Gretchen did not believe in the death penalty, the family asked that he be sentenced to life in prison.
So I read actually some news articles about this. They took him to trial. They were in the middle of the trial. It's not like they arrested him and like, hey, and the guy confessed.
He started to fight it originally, huh?
So no, they're in the middle of the trial. I couldn't find exactly like how far in, but it wasn't like day one.
Oh,
He originally pled not guilty.
Got it.
They're in the middle of the trial. The guy walks in and says, I want to change my plea. And he pleads guilty and says, confesses remorse. Mm-hmm. But they said, in the news, I was reading like a news article from that day. It was like, it was a bombshell. Like all of a sudden they're like, holy crap.
That
he just walks in and is like, hey, you know what? I want to confess. And he confesses to killing her. I mean, and he was, at that time, in 2008, he was only 41.
Yeah.
So when he committed this crime, he was young.
In prison in Texas.
Yeah. So they said that he confessed, but then they sent him back to Texas to finish out his life sentence out there.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting because I was like...
thank goodness he dropped his hat. Yeah. Maybe that's why they assumed he was hiding in the back, because his hat was back there.
Yeah, but...
Like he had been laying down hiding.
Here's the thing. Who knows? And knows at the end of the day, the man was in the car with her and he tried to steal money from her. He could have assaulted her in the parking lot and then got in the back and made her drive. Like, we have no idea. Mm-hmm. And, either way, either one is terrifying and either, the outcome is the same, unfortunately. But, I'm like, oof.
Yeah.
No, I just thought that was an interesting fact that, like, they were in trial. It wasn't like the original arraignment.
Yeah, I didn't see that because I was trying to get our kids ice cream tonight to bribe them to eat ice cream and go to bed. So I didn't do as much because once I kind of read through everything, I assumed with all of this evidence that he was already serving a life sentence. However, so that is interesting that
because it took him a while.
And
they pegged him in 2005, but
the fingerprint came in 2007, and then he didn't go to trial, it looks like, until 2008.
Well, because they had to extradite him from Texas.
Got it. Yeah.
And so then I thought it was interesting.
So I looked up her daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it looks like she's, still alive and doing well. It seems like she is a part of a bunch of different organizations and is doing good work out there. So
that's good.
It seems like she's kind of continued on. She doesn't work in any sort of field with, criminals or anything, but it seems like she's continuing the legacy of trying to better her community around her.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So I'd have one more thing on this. Okay. This is my mud fling at California. Okay. So the whole reason this case got solved is because they had funded a cold case thing, and it was
like state legislation passed some funding. I don't know.
I don't know all the details. It was either city, county, whatever. And Michael Schembri, mm-hmm. Schembri, he was a DA, a district attorney investigator, and he's the one that opened this case and got it, got the DNA match and solved it. Because, technically, this guy probably could have been solved 10 years prior because he'd been in jail for 20 mm-hmm. years.
Yeah.
Right? He picks the case up. He's the one. That year, 2008, they convicted this guy. Mm-hmm. California defunds that cold case unit and is like, nope, no more funds. Now, cold cases are done on a case-by-case basis. Oh. But the whole reason this case got solved...
California, do better.
this whole reason this case got solved is because they funded that. And this guy went through, got this case, pushed for it, got
Because it
DNA
makes you wonder
tested.
how many backlogs of
And not to take
articles of clothing or different things that could be DNA tested.
That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like this guy, I don't know how long they'd been funding it, but I mean, he'd started in 2005. Like this guy picked up this case, found there was evidence, got the DNA tested, got this guy, you know, because here's the thing. We all know that criminals don't usually just commit one crime.
No.
They commit multiple. Like most crimes are done by, you know, a small amount of criminals. They're so the likelihood that someone killed someone, went out and did other crimes and did eventually get caught is pretty high.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before with things that's like, there's no way that this was their first time. It just was the
their
time
first
that they
and
got
only,
caught.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe this was his first time, but it's not his only, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the chances that he did eventually get caught for some crime, maybe not, obviously not this one, but of one down the road, which he did.
Yeah, by 1988, he was already in prison in Texas.
Yeah. So in February 1988, he kills this lady. Now he's raping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so his DNA's on file. So, you know, DNA's becoming more of a thing in the early 90s. This guy could have been caught 10 years. Anyway, the point is, what I'm making is they funded this. This guy got caught because of that. Now they defunded it. And now it's done on a case-by-case basis. And that's frustrating because of that, that's how
we understand
justice
that the
was
DNA
brought.
testing, that process is not cheap.
Well, and it's not easy.
However,
it's not like it's an
easy.
hour-long
Yeah.
process.
And I imagine that having some criteria and guidelines to qualify to use those funds.
But this is a murder. And how many
would be
other
there,
unsolved murders are there?
Oh, in California? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, anyways.
Okay, do better, California.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say, shout out to this guy for doing that. And, you know, and I'm sure that this lady's
he helped
daughter.
this family get some answers.
And I'm sure the daughter was always in law enforcement's ear for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's how a lot of cases are solved.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, shout out to them for getting that done 20 years later. Yeah, California do better. So
Yeah. And if this podcast for some reason ever does take off and we actually make any traction or momentum, I would love to help raise funds and do more for DNA research and investigation. There are so many things happening now in the world of DNA and the familiar DNA and all of that. It would be great to be able to give back and help more families get answers because it is a very expensive process. So, okay.
Yeah, but the technology, anyways.
Yeah, the technology's
We could talk
there.
about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't.
I would love to sometime have a deep investigation conversation with people that are the investigators who solely do kind of the DNA work because it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, Benjamin, you're up for our next story.
All right. Our next story takes place in Jackson, Mississippi. And it is a story.
Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a story of Anne Lorraine Heron and her husband, Robert Heron. He plays a big role, so that. On January 26th, Robert comes home.
What year? Did you write that down?
It is in 1988.
Okay. Oh, we're still okay. 88. Are you sure?
Yes, I looked this up because they actually don't tell us. Because when this episode is airing, this has just happened.
Okay.
It's only been 4 months since this has happened.
Okay, so the original air date of this is 4 months after the kidnapping.
4 months after this. Well, yeah, you just gave it away. Yes. So I want to say, hopefully no one kills me for this, but yeah, it's 1988.
Okay.
So Robert comes home to find that his wife, Anne, or Annie, it's Anne, Annie, is missing.
Okay.
She's gone. He looks, can't find her. And then he actually finds a note in his house.
Wait, he finds a note after he places the call to the police.
Yes, he calls the police to report his wife missing. And then he finds this note in his house. Okay. Well, so it tells what it says. So Robert is a extremely wealthy businessman.
Yeah, it doesn't even go into detail about what he does. Just it seems
So
like
he
he's
owns-
got his hand in a lot of things.
I looked at. He's part of he owns part of a bank. Like he was in finance.
So he wasn't just a little wealthy.
No, they say him and his wife were some of the wealthiest people in Mississippi. Not just Jackson, but like in the Mississippi area.
Oh yeah, they considered her a socialite.
Yeah, I mean, so they're extremely well, and it's mostly him. He's the one running this business. But in the note, it pretty much explains that Robert has wronged people from this business.
12 businessmen.
Yeah, and it's from the business called School Pictures, and that if he wants to get his wife back, he needs to compensate those people for the wrongs that he's done. For the money he took from them plus damages, and it needs to be done within 10 days of this note. And then, of course, don't call the police. Okay? Too late. Okay? So time goes by. They don't hear anything. 12 days later, Robert holds a press conference pleading for the safe wife's return. And that he pretty much says, it's sad. Like he says, listen, I am the only one responsible for any of my business dealings that have hurt people. My wife is not. So please, like, leave her out of it and let her go. Okay. Well, dun. She did nothing. Holds the press conference. Nothing. So then on August 15th, they get a letter. It was 8 days after the press conference. August 15th, they get a letter, and it's written in Anne's handwriting.
Yeah.
And it pretty much pleads with Robert, please do what he asks, compensate these people. I want to come home.
But again, no information on who, what, where, when, how. I guess the who we know.
So on the note,
yeah,
on the original ransom note, it writes 12 names of people that he needs to compensate.
But he does not give any indication on what compensate means as far as damages or anything. So before this note comes, and I think even while the note comes, they've tried to contact those 12 people. Before the note comes, they've contacted.
Yeah. So that, I would say, on August 15th, that's the last. Like, they get this letter. It's written in her handwriting, pleading with him to help me, and please do what he says. So now let's find out what's going. Like, who are these people? What is this? What's going on? These are 12 business people. So School Pictures, I tried.
So it was a franchise.
It's a franchise. So you buy into this franchise, and it was over 8 states, and this franchise. I mean, it is what.
So whenever you buy a franchise, you basically are working under the umbrella model of this other company, and you owe franchise dues.
You owe franchise dues, right? And this franchise was pretty much you're able to take pictures for schools, right? Which I'm guessing
you
at that time.
contracted. Remember all the little blue backdrop we all sat in front of. Yeah, so they would go. They had these contracts. They would go and take your school pictures, print them, X,
for the
Y, or
yearbooks,
Z.
all that stuff, right?
So these 12 people had fallen behind in their payments their franchise payments to the corporation.
Yeah. So between the years of 1981 and 1983, School Pictures sues these 12 franchise owners for money. For the money owed back to them, because I guess School Pictures wasn't doing well and they are trying to pay back debts, right? And they're trying to get the debts owed to them by these franchise owners.
Yep.
So all that stuff is public record. So all those names are in the public record. So of course they're investigating it. They look into all these names. These names span across 8 different states, and one of them being Florida. And they kind of point that out because as the police are canvassing and as the police are trying to find evidence, there was reports of 2 vehicles in the area, a truck and a van that just didn't fit. And one of the vans is a white van.
A creepy, creepy van.
Yeah.
Your typical
80s kidnap van.
Yep.
With Florida plates.
Mm-hmm.
And multiple people had said that they saw that van in the neighborhood. It didn't match up, and I'm going to guess it's a pretty wealthy neighborhood. So
it said one of the most wealthiest neighborhoods.
Yeah, people are nosy, and you're going to notice things that don't belong.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the vans. After that, like, that's literally the only thing the police had.
I found this. So school picture was requested to look into the file. So the family starts doing, the son is on Unsolved Mysteries, talking about all of the things that they did to try. He said over and over again, we want to work with the kidnappers. We want our mom back. We will do whatever it takes. And so the family requested that these 12 people be looked into. The transactions were reviewed, and they sent out checks.
Yeah, so
they found out. Yeah,
so that's
what was owed to those, or I guess what the lawsuits had settled, or the damages. That had
after August 15th, after Robert gets this note from the kidnappers, from his wife's handwriting, he gathers all what these people were sued for.
Yeah, he instructed his attorneys to find out how much School Pictures had sued these 12 people for and pay them back.
Yeah. And he sends out checks to all 12 of these people, and it totals over $1 million.
Yeah.
Around $1 million. So I'm
so
going to
I
guess
have your inflation calculator already pulled up.
2.75.
You're getting good at this. 2.65.
Oh, dang it. I was only off by $100,000, which when we're talking millions is pretty good.
Pretty good.
So, I mean, that's a lot of freaking money.
To just tell these people, just give them this money. I don't care who. He didn't ask for them to be investigated.
No,
nothing.
He just
pay
sends
them back.
these people checks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, imagine if you're up in, I mean, I don't know which state. We'll just say Tennessee. And you were sued, and you get a check for $100,000 or $150,000
by the guy that sued you.
Yeah,
that
randomly,
you lost
don't
to.
know what's going on. You have no clue.
They said several of the checks were sent back.
Yeah, so they said like over
I would like to know those people's stories.
Over half of the checks were sent back. They were
Who
like,
sends a check back?
I don't know.
Maybe it freaked him out. Like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
but I
mean,
want nothing to do with this.
No, I get it. Like. No one just sends you free money. Like that's not the world we live in.
Yeah, and I think I'd be like, no, this guy already sued us once.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not cashing
it's like,
this check.
It's like I feel like I'm being,
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, half these people end up sending the checks back.
Yeah.
So that's where Unsolved Mysteries ends. And so like the son's on his pleading because now it's been 4 months. Yeah, I mean it's been 4 months, and their mom is still missing. And after that August 15th, they never hear a single thing. Mm-hmm. No other letters, nothing from the kidnappers, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we have our update.
Kind of.
Yes, we're going to get into that. But they actually end up updating it. It was only a few months later. Mm-hmm. The FBI ends up arresting a Newton Alfred Wynn, who's an attorney in Florida. And dun, 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 he's one of the people on the list.
Yeah.
He's one of the 12 people.
Yeah.
So he literally just named himself. Like, how did you not think they were going to look into you?
Yeah. I'm going to guess the handful of people that sent that check back probably were cleared pretty quick.
Oh, no, he's one of them.
He sent the check back?
He sent the check back.
What?
And his check was like for $150,000. Yeah. He sent the check back.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
I know.
So he kidnaps a woman, extorts them for money, and then mails the check back?
Probably because he just didn't want to be on suspicion, right? I don't know. I don't
Did
know.
he not think that far ahead?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, sorry. Continue with your update.
So FBI. So this is how they found him.
Okay.
Okay. They explain the case about how they got this guy. Okay. A month prior, he buys a white van. Okay. a white van, right?
Yep.
And so then, I guess they actually explain it. This was some of the research I'd done. They don't explain this in the episode, but he asked one of the guys that worked in his office to lie about his alibi.
Oh,
shocking!
night.
And then because he actually had to testify in a grand jury, and turns out the guy lies for him for his alibi, but then that obviously falls apart. Then he asks one of what was it, his one of the ladies he worked with, or one of his
he
old
asked
girlfriends.
just an old girlfriend or something.
Yeah, so he asked his old girlfriend. He says, "I will pay you $500 to fly to Atlanta." He gives her,
Adjusted for inflation, $1,300.
okay, thank you. He gives her a manila envelope. Mm-hmm. In the envelope is
a letter
wrapped in a napkin, and he tells her, "Don't open it."
My first thought was, I'm opening that.
100%, right? But she says she did. Okay, at the time. In this manila envelope is this letter wrapped in a napkin. He wants her to go to Atlanta, and then in Atlanta to drop this letter off at a post office or the post office box, because they said the letter.
Yeah, that's the point of
mailed.
origin. They're going to try and track that down. He thinks that far ahead, but he thinks that the white van and sending the check back were good ideas. This man is an idiot.
Yeah. Well, kind of, I guess. But so she says that when she went to go drop the letter off, she opens the napkin and sees the name and the address. And of course, like at this point, I'm going to guess this is all over the news.
Yeah, an old socialite woman goes missing or gets kidnapped out of her house.
And here's the thing. Like, I mean, this is where the fear of kidnapping comes from. Like back in the 80s, everyone thought that everyone was out to kidnap them, you know, like that's the Nate Bargatze skit of how like his parents had him take a picture with all of his information as he was holding it, because his parents like just thought they were gonna get kidnapped.
Had it printed on a shirt or something. Like, can't you just wear the shirt that had his kidnapping information on it? Yeah.
So, you know, I'm gonna guess this is all over the news because here's a legitimate.
Well, I remember the local police department and the crime dog. Remember that guy? Also in a trench coat. Do you remember the crime cartoon dog? The Ruffs or whatever?
McGuff or something? Yeah.
People are yelling at us in their car. They came to our school in the early 90s, so elementary school, and sent us home with like a manila envelope where we were supposed to like give to our parents to like put our blood type and our stuff in case we went missing. I know.
I mean, let's just admit it. The 80s, the biggest fear everyone had was one, kidnap and quicksand. And
satanic
cults.
Yeah. It was a wild time.
It was a wild time, all right. So
yeah, I thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem.
Much bigger problem.
Yeah.
We've all seen that meme, right? We all thought quicksand was just right around the corner. You're going to step in it and, you know.
And you're done.
It's over.
Yeah.
You know, it's a slow death to the bottom. There is no bottom.
Yeah, so I'm sure everyone knew this lady's name.
Yeah. So anyways, she goes to drop this envelope off. She sees it. Turns out she calls the police like, "Hey, I think I just helped a guy that
super quick
might have kidnapped a lady."
I thought this was a free trip to Atlanta and $500. Turns out nothing's free, lady.
No, it wasn't free. So, yeah. So that's how they peg this guy. Okay. But here's the crazy thing. So he gets convicted.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I looked at his conviction.
For 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to jail. He gets convicted for 19 years.
But what does he get convicted of?
This is the crazy part. Okay. So he gets convicted for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, extortion, and perjury.
Mm-hmm.
Not for the actual kidnapping.
Nope. Mm-mm.
So to this day, 2024, Annie's body has never been recovered.
Yeah, obviously based on her age, she's no longer alive. We know that.
We're not expecting, but to this day, we don't know.
We have no clue what happened to her.
This guy, of course.
And this man does not get any charges brought against him for harming her in any way, shape, or form.
Well, because...
Or even technically taking her, crossing state lines, putting him in the back of his creepy kidnapping van.
Well, it's conspiracy
granny
to
napping
commit
van.
kidnapping. It's not even actual kidnapping.
Is it kidnapping when you kidnap a grandma?
What's that?
Is it kidnapping when you kidnap a grandma?
Yeah, 100%.
It's kidnapping. Is it nanny napping?
No.
Mima napping? We're in this house.
I was so blown away. I was like, so...
Well, I was confused. I was like, well, surely more charges are... Like, they wanted to get him where they knew where he was, and more charges are yet to come. No, this poor family to this day has no clue. All we know is that at some point she penned a letter to her family.
Yeah, and that could have been done right away.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he says he gave this to her. Like, the letter gets there on August 15th, but it was mailed out days earlier. Mm-hmm. Like, but they do say, like, she was fragile and she needed daily medication. My guess, I mean, obviously, like, we're now just in the guessing phase.
Yeah.
She was
I bet something happened.
She was 71 years old at the time. Probably something happened and she passed away. Mm-hmm. I'm going to guess. I mean, well, obviously we know she passed away, but like either he killed her or he wasn't ready for her to have serious health conditions and he died while he's
She died while being held, and then he freaked out.
That's probably why he sent the money back.
Ooh, sorry.
Sorry, actually.
This went a little farther than I expected it to.
Yeah, exactly. So,
he was released, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
He didn't serve that much time.
No, he was released in April of 2006. But he's dead. He died in 2012. But he still got to live 6 years in freedom. Well,
I hope every day of that 6 years he cut his fingernails and toenails too short.
Too short. Yeah, I know.
That is our hope and wish for every bad guy or bad human being that we talk about on this show. It broke my heart
because really, like, you could say they got the guy.
Well, that son, bless his heart, was so sweet talking about his mom. This family was willing to do anything.
Well, so he got convicted.
For the no answers to ever come. How unfair. This poor woman lives her whole life as a socialite and is thrown in the back of a van one day and is never heard or seen from again. It's terrifying.
Yeah. And I felt that the husband, I will say, he at least saw a little bit of justice. This guy was convicted. Golly, I don't have it. It was early 1990 or 1991. And he died in December of that year. Robert died
her husband passed away. Yeah.
A few months after that. So he died shortly after that. So at least he did get to see the guy get caught. But it is terrible because, like I said, he wasn't even convicted for the actual kidnapping. Just conspiracy for kidnapping.
Yeah.
And for her death. Because clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And they never knew what happened to her.
No. So I guess, there's part of this that is still unsolved.
Yeah.
They still don't know where her body is or what even happened to her.
What happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
No clue.
Oh, that is sad.
Yeah. So that's our only update on that one. It is sad, but, I mean, the guy's dead. But unfortunately, it just doesn't feel right. Like, yeah, I get it. He did a lot of time, but he didn't do time for the right things.
Yeah.
Then he still got to get out and have 6 years of not being in prison.
And not giving anybody, the fact is, here's the thing, dude, you know what happened and you know where she's at. You could have, at the bare minimum, on your deathbed, made some sort of effort to give answers.
I mean, he confessed his innocence the entire time.
Of course he did. He's a tool bag.
Yeah. But again, I don't know. So, yeah. That's all we got on that one.
That is all we got on that one. Okay. So we will go into our third story, which is our paranormal story.
Da, da, da.
I know. I need to get a soundboard with some like paranormal music to play. Okay, so this one is kind of a fun, lighthearted story about the General Wayne Inn.
Yep. In Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. So, on the episode of Unsolved Mysteries, we get our host telling us about
Robert Stack,
that this is the location of numerous reports of mischievous ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but it's a famous place.
It is a famous place. Yep. We'll get into that. So I want to note the crow noises that we start off our episode with on the first
Sierra
shot.
Loves crows.
I've been trying to crow nap a
Crow
crow
nap?
to befriend for almost a year now.
She's been trying to lure crows into her yard.
It hasn't happened yet.
No, they don't care. They don't
Well,
wanna come.
and it's Arizona right now. It's very hot. I have not seen hardly any crows in our area at all for the last couple of months. So I'm hoping as it gets to be cooler weather, we start to see them around more often. Updates coming on that. I'll keep you all posted on how my crow napping is going. Okay. So we open up on a scene of the inn with crow noises in the background. Okay, and we get a little history. The General Wayne Inn was opened in 1704.
That's a long time
It's
ago.
a long time ago. And it is reported at the time to be one of the oldest continuously functioning inns in America. Many famous people have stayed here, including Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, and my favorite, Edgar Allan Poe. There's a whole song about him from a musical. And in school this year, homeschool, we're going to be studying Edgar Allan Poe. Actually, I kind of want to know whatever happened to that painting that they showed. They showed us a painting of him at the house. Anyways, he stayed at the inn throughout, off and on over the years, and actually even wrote part of his famous short story, The Raven, while there. I know. I loved it. It made me very excited. Okay. So now that we've got a little bit of history, the next part of the episode goes into kind of some of the reporting sightings or the reporting happenings
we got
around.
all this great stories coming out.
So the innkeeper, okay,
Barton Johnson.
He's also part of like the president of the local historic society. He loves his job.
Yeah, he's here for it.
He is here for it. He tells us that while he does not believe in ghosts, he has seen several or experienced several funny encounters, but he's never witnessed like an actual apparition, and he doesn't know if he necessarily believes in like ghostly things like that.
What did you? I wrote down one of his quotes.
Okay, because some of his quotes were like all over the place. Some of them contradicted each other, but you can give us one of his quotes.
It's at the end.
Okay.
This is what Barton Johnson said. You want me to tell it now?
Yeah, tell it now so we can get
I wrote it down word for word. This is Barton Johnson. After it's all been said, they interview him, and this is how he ends it.
Okay.
I don't believe in ghosts, but I know they're here. That's literally what he says. That is a word for word
so that's
quote
our main
from this
talking
guy.
head in the story.
This is our expert. I don't believe in ghosts, but I know they're here. He then goes on to say, after that, I didn't write this down, but I mean, if they're going to be here, they might as well have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
That's what he's. I'm like, dude, you just said you don't believe in ghosts. So you're out of your mind.
He's our main talking head at the beginning, telling us about these different stories. So he tells us a story about one evening, the valet driver, who I'm guessing at first looks like a convicted felon because he's in an orange jumpsuit. So whoever was on set that day for the reenactment cast ran out of an outfit for a valet and thought, you know what? I've cut this orange jumpsuit from a different thing we did. Because that's what it was. It was an orange jumpsuit. Like you would see the people on the side of the road. I was like, I thought they were going to tell us a story about someone who escaped from jail or something. But nope, that was supposed to be the valet.
The valet that you give your keys to your car to.
The valet came up to you in an orange jumpsuit. Hey man, just give me the keys to your
DOC car. On it.
I will park this for you. Don't do it. He's not the valet guy.
Don't come back for a few hours. Don't report this missing
Just don't
for a while.
report it missing. So anyways,
let me cross state lines.
The valet, he's out, I guess, in the parking lot in a brand new Cadillac. And now, mind you, again, we're in the 80s. So there is no like push to start or, Cadillac turns on by itself and the windshield wipers going off and the alarms or anything.
And the doors were locked.
It freaks the little valet boy out.
It freaks the convict out.
Yeah. The innkeeper thinks it's funny, just chuckles and tells him not to worry about it.
But he's like, the innkeeper, the valet was just all shook up. He was so.
He handled it like a champ, though.
Yeah. That's because he doesn't believe in ghosts, but he knows they're there.
Exactly. So then he also tells us about some other creepy perv ghost who likes to go around the bar and blow on the back of women's necks. And they typically turn around and like yell at some random...
They yell at all the guys.
The guys behind them. What are you doing? I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever had anyone blow on the back of my neck randomly.
Yeah.
But he likes to just sit at the bar.
And he just knows it's happening. Yeah. He just watches it happen.
And he'll just watch it happen.
Yeah. And the best part, in the reenactment, like all these ladies are freaking out.
It's hilarious. The reenactment ladies, this was the role of a lifetime because as we know, we need to read the beginning intro sometime that they talk about that if ever possible, that the reenactment actors are all people that have partaken
They try to get the actual people involved, not actors.
So I'm guessing that this was the kind of random town folks that hung out at this bar.
What are you doing?
These women were on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
They all freaked out about getting... I mean, here's the thing. I will say, if you were sitting at a bar and someone blew on the back of your neck...
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, it's time. It's freak out time.
Yeah, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, so let's know. But it was just... But the innkeeper, he just thinks
he just
so
sits back and chuckles.
But it's because he knows it's the ghost that he knows don't exist doing it.
But they're there to have some mischief.
He just knows the ghosts are there to have some fun. He says that multiple times. They're just here to have some fun. I mean, if you're going to be here, they just might as well have some fun.
So then the next story we get is from Dave Rogers, who's
oh my gosh,
the maitre d', which what's a maitre d'?
I don't know.
That's a French word. That's all I know that is from Beauty and the Beast, I think.
I don't know.
He's the maitre d' at the restaurant there, and one night while he's cleaning up, he's putting stuff away. He walks in through the kitchen, and as like out of the corner of his eye or something, he sees a head sitting on top of
a drawer,
a chest of drawers.
Okay, but did you catch what he said?
He doesn't realize what he's seen until he's like walked.
He says, the kitchen. I didn't register it right away.
Yeah. So to me, that actually makes more sense. I think sometimes, like, if you think
are you
see something crazy,
me?
It takes you a second to be like, did I just see?
He says he like walks out into like the
dining room area.
Dining area. Does not register. So you're telling...
And then he yells.
No.
I saw a head.
You freaking are telling me that you saw just a head sitting on top of...
The reenactment head was amazing.
Yes. Yeah, they put it like it's just this like it looks like
Looks
from
like
Haunted
a frozen
Mansion.
head from Haunted
Haunted
Mansion.
Mansion from
This whole
Disneyland.
story reminds me of Haunted Mansion.
Yes,
This is the
100%.
baseline story of spooky, happy little ghost. 999
But
haunts.
I'm dying here because this guy's literally trying to convince me and the world that he sees a head on top of a dresser, walks by it, and says, I didn't register it right away.
Yeah.
If I saw a head, I think it would register pretty darn quick.
Right up top.
Yeah, I would say.
That's not supposed to be there.
I would say, I mean, if he said it stopped me in my tracks because I didn't even.
It took me a second to process what I was
just
looking
saw.
at. Yeah.
But you're saying that you just walked by it and kept going and then realized later that it was a head. No.
Yeah.
I mean,
so he goes back to check and it's not there.
what? What? Are you kidding me? That's shocking.
Then we get another an employee.
Alice Gromley.
Alice is walking through the dining room and she hears somebody calling her name. And so she goes through the dining area and around the corner, and on this like stairs, she sees a man in a military uniform standing on the steps. She like says something to him and he vanishes.
Yeah, because I'm sure she got used to seeing soldiers on steps.
Yeah, so that's kind of where, as far as like that goes. Then the story takes an interesting turn.
They say that, but they don't say who. They say on 3 different occasions.
Oh, yeah.
In the basement, this soldier in a green uniform with a yellow lapel is seen. And it's a Hessian soldier. Like that does match up with.
And Hessian soldiers were from Germany.
Yes, that England contracted with Hessian soldiers during the Revolutionary War to come help fight the Revolutionary War.
And they had stayed at this inn before. So there is some historical
ties
to this area.
So they're saying that this Hessian soldier had been seen in the basement.
By the wine cellar. He's a thirsty soldier.
And he'd been seen at least on
three separate occasions.
But they didn't explain when, who, where. I mean, well, I guess where, but.
So, this is Ben's favorite part. Because here's the thing. I'll never discredit, like we talked about in the last kind of paranormal sightings, people's things that they've witnessed.
Well, yeah.
Things that they believe, right?
Yeah, okay.
Because that's their own account. Cool. Where we start to get a little on the skeptical side or a little eye-rolly is when you start entering in with the psychics and
the doctors.
Okay. So we get, I don't even know how to pronounce this lady's name.
Michaeline Mayer.
Michaeline.
Yeah, it's spelled super weird.
It is spelled super weird. Michaeline Mayer, who has a PhD. They don't tell us in the episode what she has a PhD in. They make it sound like she has a PhD in a parapsychologist. Okay?
She's a paranormal investigator.
She's a paranormal investigator with a PhD who refuses to believe in ghosts without scientific evidence. Okay. So I did some digging into this lady.
Well, let's talk about what this lady does first.
Okay.
And then we're going to get into these 2 ladies.
Yeah, so there's quite a few websites on this lady. She is this paranormal investigator. She's published many of books, but she has a system that she does when she's doing her paranormal investigating. Okay? So she investigates a case on a pioneering study that she claims works. She published this in the American Society for Psychology Research, the way she investigates paranormal activity, in 1966. So she makes a floor plan of the area that is being talked about. So in her journal, she makes a floor plan of an apartment that had been a site of hauntings, right? She's got all these like mathematical equations, and then she investigates and she asks the people that have experienced the hauntings where they were, and she grids them out on the floor plan. Then she brings in psychics and asks them to tell her where they feel and experience things. And then she brings in a lay person or several lay people that have no experience with anything and asks them, if you were going to like sense or invent or like imagine something happening, where would you? And then she like layers all of these things together to like mathematically try to solve whether there's actually room for investigation further. You look like you fell asleep during that.
No, I was actually I'm into this.
Okay.
I'm into the BS that this is.
Okay. So also, just so everybody knows, parapsychology is a field of study that investigates paranormal or psychic phenomenon. Okay? Including mental abilities to be telepathic and telekinesis. I looked. There is no place in continental United States of America that you can get a PhD in this study.
That's shocking.
I know. So I checked. Because at this point, I'm thinking this lady's full of BS. But she does have a doctorate degree. Okay? She has a doctorate degree in psychology. But her field of study is really outside of her scope of practice to be claiming a PhD.
That's shocking.
It bothers me. It makes it seem very much that she has some crazy PhD in some sort of like... But I was like, how do you get a PhD in...
Ghosts?
Yeah. What? So... Yeah, there's no accredited degree program in parapsychology anywhere in the United States to date.
I'm so shocked by this information.
Yeah, but you put in the word parapsychology and people assume that you've done some education,
sure,
right?
I know.
And so I even looked. Is being a parapsychologist a real job?
No, it's not. It's 100%
This
BS.
is what it tells me. The opportunities for making this a full-time career are rare, since there are presently many more qualified people wishing to work in this field rather than there are funds to actually support it. So, anyways, that's just character one of who we're working with.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I think that's just important to kind of go in.
So she comes in.
Unsolved Mysteries invited her in to be a part of this.
Yeah, they bring her in. She's a paranormal investigator.
Yep. So we're going to see if she can determine whether these sightings are genuine or not.
So she brings in her mathematical equation.
Scientifically analyze this situation.
Yeah.
With no education on how to do that.
Well, she's got a PhD in something.
Something. So she's going to evaluate the responses of both skeptics and psychics that have been brought into the scene.
What's that?
She's going to evaluate the responses of both skeptics and psychics.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Got it.
So she asks psychic Paula Rogers. You investigated her a little bit, right? You did a little bit of research into Paula Rogers?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get kind of some information on the psychic. Well, I didn't do anything on her.
Oh, yeah. I did. Well, her actual name, they pronounce it wrong.
Oh.
It's actually Paula Roberts.
Oh, okay.
And it is her.
Okay.
She's got a website.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It's good. So, yes, Paula Roberts is supposedly a psychic. Mm-hmm. And, oh my gosh. Let me just tell you what it says on the front of her website.
Okay.
Okay. She's the English psychic, because she
Okay.
is from England,
Okay.
you know. But the front of her, it says psychic, clairvoyant, seer. I can't make this up. Psychic, clairvoyant, seer, ghost hunter, remote viewer, handwriting analyst, and and speaker.
Oh, yeah, you can hire her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's her description of herself just on the front of her thing. Let me read to you. Meet Paula from her website, okay? Paula left her hometown in London in 1978, moved to New York City. Since she was a small child, she was always aware of the presence of spirits. Oh, it gets so good. In London, she briefly attended the spiritual assign, ASSN, period. That's what it says. The spiritual assign of Great Britain, where she was quickly acknowledged as already a full-fledged medium. Parentheses, not in need of any training.
I'm sorry.
She wrote this herself. I'm not even making this up.
It sounds like someone like in a cult.
Yes. And
I've already ascended to this level, so I don't have to go through all the things that you have to go through.
She was quickly acknowledged as an already full-fledged medium.
I'm already a full-fledged member.
Not in need of any training.
So the rules don't apply to me like they do to you.
So, but then it says, also, while in London, she studied handwriting analysis, which she continues to use daily. Not where.
Studied where?
Exactly. Where?
Who? Under what?
Yeah, exactly. But
I study Instagram reels all day, every day. That doesn't make me an expert on them.
So soon after arriving in New York City, we're not going to read this whole thing, but it just like I got to read these next couple because they're so good. Soon after arriving in New York City, she had her own live call-in local TV show and began her career working as a clairvoyant counselor. So this lady became a counselor. Clairvoyant. I looked at it's like, you know, it's like someone that talks to ghosts.
To dead people.
Yeah. But she's not a real counselor. She never went to school for this.
It is interesting that she can use that word.
Or at least she doesn't say she went to school for this. Right? Maybe she did, but she doesn't put it in there. And it's hard.
You can't go to school to be a counselor to talk to dead people. That doesn't exist.
Well, I would expect someone like this to go and get their like degree in psychology, sociology, something like that, and be a counselor, but then say, also, I have this. At least have a little bit of education to back it up. Maybe she does, but she doesn't put it in.
She probably went to school and they told her she was already a full-fledged counselor and no longer needed to stay here and get educated.
But she now has, so I'm going to continue reading here. She now has a very, very large international clientele from all walks of life, and her reputation has built upon her strict code of confidentiality. Honestly, of her strict code of confidentiality, honesty, and of course, her accuracy. Not only does she use her skills for her private clients, but is able to bring these gifts to the various events she does. Be it the psychic of handwriting, even in a short time, she is able to reveal a great deal about a guest.
No.
So, here's where we get into our episode.
Okay.
She met Dr. Michaeline Mayer in 1984 and began her work as a paranormal investigator, parentheses, ghost hunter. Her first experiment was in the General Wayne Inn near Pennsylvania, where she quickly saw the Hessian soldier hiding in the cellar. This was later filmed by Unsolved Mysteries and is still available online. Series 1, Episode 7, which we're on. She worked with Dr. Mayer on many such investigations, who published her results. The American Society of Psycho Research. And it goes on. She continues to talk about how amazing she was. And for everyone, if this episode comes out before the election, On January 2nd, 2024, Paula appeared on the Fox News Jesse Waters primetime show where she predicted that Trump would suffer a lot of losses. This immediately went viral worldwide.
A lot of losses. That can mean so many things.
Yeah. And we're not going to talk politics, but
no,
I just thought it was...
I'm just saying, I could say that about anything, and that she didn't say that he would lose, like whether this is not being political at all, but just
but
make
she
a
could
general
say that
statement.
Because
to say he experienced a lot of losses, be like he experienced losses X, Y, or Z. It's such a broad stroke thing to say.
Yeah, because then
she didn't make a prediction.
If he does win, she can say those losses were something else.
Yeah,
but then if he
100%.
loses, she can say that that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh.
It's for her, it's a win-win situation. She cannot be wrong in that scenario.
Yeah. This lady is supposedly a counselor, handwriting expert, and a medium that she never even had training for because everyone was just so amazed by her amazingness that they were like, you don't need it. You're so
Can you imagine
great.
being at a dinner party with this woman?
Dude. This lady's, I bet she's got a portrait of
herself in her house.
In her house. Like a big portrait.
100%.
Like Dr. Fauci style, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. This lady, wow.
I know. And,
yeah.
But here's the thing. That's from her own website.
I know. That is her
She wrote this about herself. Like,
yeah.
I'm not even like grabbing what someone else says and like trying to knock her with other people's words. Like, I'm literally just using her own words.
Yeah. So we get these two women in this episode paired up.
Sorry, we got off on a tangent.
I just wanted
These are the people that show up.
These are the people that are showing up. Because here's the thing. I would listen to these employees or these town folk tell me their like weird stories all day long. I think that's awesome. I love that.
I'm taking the innkeeper more serious than I'm taking Paula 100%. Here.
100%. And I find that these kind of local town folks and the people that have worked at this place, I enjoy listening to their stories. But once these two yahoos show up, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Anywho, so they feel... So Paula walks through the building. She knows, according to her, nothing about the inn. BS.
Sure.
And she believed that she saw a man hiding, quote unquote, feeling left behind in the basement.
Well, she says it on her website. She saw the Hessian soldier hiding in the wine cellar.
Just a few feet away from where other witnesses had seen him.
Where everyone else saw it. Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, at the end of the episode wraps up, they believe, while they have not found any conclusive evidence of ghost, they do believe that there is ground for further investigation.
That there's something going on, but we don't have anything concrete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will say, hold on. They do tell, the innkeeper tells the story of the TV, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So he says the local news did a story on the inn.
For Halloween. For
Halloween.
Funsies, yeah.
And so they're all sitting in the bar. They're watching this on the television. Mm-hmm. And as they're watching it, it starts turning.
Not the television, but the picture inside the television starts slowly rotating.
It slowly turns all the way. He says it goes all the way around.
A whole 360.
And supposedly
they thought something had gone wrong with as far as like when the filming or that the station had done it intentionally. Turns out.
But he says no one else had that happen.
Yeah, anyone else that watched it didn't have the same experience.
But I'm thinking
maybe
100% they did that. That was like that's like a Halloween thing. Like how many spin it around.
Yeah, exactly.
That was totally the news.
You thought everyone at that bar had a little too much to drink that night and the TV was moving around.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is crazy is that we did some research just to kind of see. One, I was really excited because my plan was if this place was still in operation, I was going to book us a room. We were going to go to the haunted boat, and then we were going to go.
The boat does sound cool.
The boat does sound cool. That is still on our list, and it's actually a lot closer to us than this place is.
Yeah. I'm not going to Pennsylvania anytime soon.
So it seems like shortly after this episode, this inn kind of starts to fall on hard times. It goes into disrepair and kind of starts to get ignored, and a lot of maintenance hasn't been done. So it goes into disrepair. And then there's a wild story where in 1995, executive chef Jim Webb and his business partner purchased the inn. Because it seemed like it had started to fall in disrepair. They purchased it. And then a year later, on December 27th, 1966, Jim, the chef, was found murdered in the office of the inn.
Yeah, this was crazy.
Wild, right?
I know. I was looking at this too.
So the police later determined that his business partner had killed him in order to collect a $650,000 life insurance policy that he had taken out on him. He allegedly needed the money because their business was failing and he owed his father $100,000. So he was convicted of the murder, and that's all said and done. So obviously that's not an unsolved mystery. So then it sounds like it sits there for a while and just kind of starts to really fall apart. In 2005, the inn was converted into a Jewish synagogue and community center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they run a school there. They have their candlelight vigils there. I think you can go there for
It's
their
a Shabbat.
Yeah, for their Sabbath, because Saturday night to Sunday night they have a candle lighting ceremony. They have it listed on their event pages. You can come. Seems like they're really involved with the community there. They've kept quite a bit of the historical stuff as much as they can.
They still have. It's still called. They still have the sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sign is still up, and they still have the post inside where different events happen throughout
and
history.
Who's come and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
they're still trying to keep it. It's a historical site still.
Yeah, it's still a historical site. They
Way.
try to keep it that way, but it seems like the Jewish synagogue and community center is they've taken it over. I actually looked up the Google image maps on it, and there was a picture done in early of this year, 24. It looks like there's some construction happening, so maybe they're doing some renovating or some updating, but I don't know. Seems like if the mischievous ghosts are still there, they are enjoying. It looks like they do a lox and bagel event there every couple of months too. So seems like a really cool little thing that they've done with it.
Yeah.
But if we ever go to Pennsylvania, we'll check it out.
But there's not a lot of ghost stories coming out of there anymore.
I would be really interested to interview some people who have spent a lot of time at that synagogue to see if they've experienced anything. I don't know what Jewish culture is on paranormal. I don't know kind of what historically they think about it or how it is encultured into their
they probably have
religion.
Just common sense, and if they saw a head on a drawer, they wouldn't just walk by.
Probably not.
And say, "I didn't register it at first."
So there we go. There's episode 7.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very iconic, classic Unsolved Mysteries episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The kidnapping one was crazy because
the fact that her body's not been found and that man was not even technically convicted of kidnapping her.
Well, and here's the thing, right? A lot of people have tried to claim kidnapping when they've really just murdered their spouse or whatever, right? And then
that this man actually didn't have anything to do with his wife as far as disappearing.
I mean, I will say there, at least from my understanding, there's not a lot of true kidnapping stories in the world. People don't just go in and randomly kidnap other people. I mean, I know.
There's been several big historical ones, but it is not a common occurrence.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I know people are yelling. It's what about this one and this one? I'm like, yes.
As a look over here, as a red herring sort of thing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is a lot of people come home.
Because the JonBenet Ramsey case was a red herring. She was never kidnapped. She was dead in her basement. Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying is this one. I will say that's what I did find interesting. Is this was a legit kidnapping, which you don't get a lot of those stories.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
At least that I know, but I don't really do a lot of research.
But you're also not really.
I'm not into true crime, so yeah. No, it was an interesting episode.
what ran through your mind, if you can remember, on our first kiss? Or like...
I don't know exactly what ran through my mind. I can imagine what ran through my mind.
Okay. I guess
I mean,
what
I
was
remember
notable about our first kiss or something like that?
I remember our first kiss.
Okay.
It was in the parking lot of your apartment complex.
Mm-hmm. And it took forever.
Yeah. I mean...
I think we had been hanging out for almost 2 weeks.
Yeah. You were bugging me like, are you actually ever going to actually kiss me or not?
Did I say that to you?
Pretty much. Yeah. You did say like, are you going to do this or what? And
well,
so I did.
In all honesty, by that point, Ben is a very, at least at the time, he's a very nice guy.
Let's not get carried away.
And at the time, we were in our early 20s.
We were 21.
Yeah, Ben had gone on a few dates with me. He had not really tried to show me any level of like affection, physical affection in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And we had been hooked up through our singles ward, we had hooked up, right? But Ben's sister had actually been the person who had reached out to me. And like, that's such so. Long story short, there was a few people in our church that we were going to church at who knew that Ben had a crush on me and had kind of put the bug into my ear. And so I'd reached out to him. Anyways, by this point in the parking lot of that evening, I had assumed that the people, because we weren't all close, like this group of people that said, hey, this guy's interested in you, I did not hang out with them on a social level. We knew each other because we saw each other on Sundays and maybe kind of bigger gatherings. So my assumption was that these people had gotten it wrong because I had a roommate at the time.
No.
That they had gotten the wrong person wrong, but that Ben was just like being too nice to say,
I was just trying to date you and
I'm just actually trying to go on a date with your roommate, but my sister got the wrong person, but now I'm too nice to like hurt your feelings, so I'm just kind of letting this drag out a little bit. That was my assumption by this point, because it wasn't like over 2 weeks we'd only seen each other once or twice. Yeah. We had gone on several dates and spent a lot of time together over this 2 weeks. And he did not seem at all interested in anything other than this like hangout social relationship. No flirting, no nothing.
Play it slow.
Play it slow.
I was playing the long game here.
And so I think by that point, I don't want to say that I was like mad, but I was ready to just be like, if you don't want to hang out with me anymore, please just tell me so we can move on, because I'm going to like, this is only getting more embarrassing for me if I keep hanging out with this guy that doesn't actually want to hang out with me. Oh, that was my thoughts running through my head that night.
And we kissed. And it was great. It was wonderful. But
it was a great first kiss.
I'm a slow burner.
Okay. But I answered the question. I was feeling frustrated and nervous and scared. Like that was, I don't know what was going through my head exactly at the moment, but that was my emotions attached to that.
Mine was probably like, oh man, we're really doing it. We're really doing it. We're going for it now. This is getting serious now.
Well, because you got called out.
Yeah, I did. I did get called out. You called me out on it.
Yeah.
So then I was like, well, now I have to.
Yeah, because if you hadn't kissed me that night after I'd said, like, are you going to ever kiss me?
It probably would have been over.
It probably wouldn't be where it is today.
Yeah. 17 years later, 3 kids.
17 wonderful years.
Yeah. 17 amazing years. And 3 kids later.
And 3 little stinker butts.
We made it.
We did. We are here. We did another episode in the books. We hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you have the time or energy, we would really appreciate anywhere in your streaming platforms to rate and review us. If you have any questions or concerns or comments or even suggestions in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to email us at themysterycouple@gmail.com. Find us on any and all social medias. And we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.